Tom Brady, Joe Montana. This guy is far and away the youngest at 27 to ever accomplish that.
Yeah, well, don't brag him up too much and have him retire on it. You guys he's a smart dude. He can do a lot of things. So, you know.
Well, listen, you've been around this game an awfully long time. Help us put it in perspective. Why shouldn't we be talking about him as maybe one of the 5 greatest at such a young age?
Yeah, well, if you don't do it, I'm gonna do it. So I'm all in on that. He's a pleasure to work with. He's humble. He busts his tail, and he was on a mission to get back so he could enjoy this one. And now we're sitting with you guys.
That's awesome. It's like, let me just make you sit here, Patrick Mahomes, and listen to the adoration, rightfully so, that was raining down on the MVP and the quarterback of the Super Bowl winning team last night. Andy Reid put it perfectly. If someone else isn't going to do it, he wants to. And what he has done, and he being Patrick Mahomes already in his short time, it's going to be short because that guy's not going anywhere. To see his fight and his competitive nature and his will to win is just remarkable.
Oh, it's so fun to watch. And when Patrick Mahomes became the starter in 2018, I had to play against him twice that year. And you knew as soon as he stepped on the field as their quarterback, the success he was having, the 50 touchdowns, the 5,000 yards in his first year starting, you knew, like, my goodness, we might be talking about this guy, one of the greats, at some point. And we have now reached that point where we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. I think at this point, it's just a matter of, all right, how high is he going to climb on the greatest of all time when it comes to quarterbacks? Last night, we saw him complete the Triple Crown, or however you want to call it. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, alongside earning the NFL MVP. This guy was incredible. No interceptions last night, had 3 passing touchdowns, and it was the way he willed his team to victory. We watched how he grimaced in pain at the end of that first half when his ankle gets rolled up on. It's just like, my goodness, is Patrick Mahomes going to be okay? And then we watched that 26-yard scamper in the second half, and it was just like, what can this guy not do? The way he wills his team and the belief that he puts inside of them is unbelievable. Patrick Mahomes, top 5 already. It's just a matter of his young career. How high is he going to climb on that list? Will he be able to surpass Tom Brady as the greatest of all time when it's all said and done?
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a few more trophies to hoist before he's with the GOAT. But I think we're going to talk about his legacy for the next couple of months here. But I just want to talk about the performance yesterday and last night. What he did on that bum ankle and the ability to deliver with the game on the line. Like, he showed how clutch he is. Like, no moment is ever too big for Patrick Mahomes, and he showed that. But I also think just what we saw last night was his leadership and how that has grown. We know he has the physical tools, the arm and the accuracy and the off-platform throws, but the leadership that he has shown when all of a sudden this offseason, Tyreek Hill's gone. And now it's like, okay, you were tasked with, you've got to find a way to win now without your best receiver. How do you do it? And he kind of reinvented himself. It wasn't like, hey, we're going deep all the time now. I don't have my cheetah. He found a way to do 9, 10, 11-play drives and find ways to attack the middle of the field. It helps when you have Travis Kelce. But I think for Mahomes, we saw a different version of him this season, and we certainly saw that last night in the Super Bowl. Mahomes, congratulations. I'm sure that ankle is sore this week, today, this morning as you wake up. But the bottom line is, when they needed a play, he used his legs to make it. And I think that's something that we're going to remember about.
Yeah, just put that ankle in the ice bucket that you're holding all your champagne in all week long. It doesn't matter. Just drop it in there. When you think about, like, the top 5 or putting somebody in that conversation, I think the definition of that for quarterbacks in particular is not only the whole body of work when you look back at Brady and Montana, but also these singular moments that defined. And I think the second half for Patrick Mahomes last night in particular, statistically, for him to go 21 of 27, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, the second half, he had 1 passing completion. 1 single one on a bum ankle, and that 20-yard rush that he did was spectacular. But it's how he carries himself. He not only leads by example, to your point, Sean, he changes things on the fly, and that's just not only within a game, within a half, but within a season. To incorporate Kadarius Toney in that trade from the Giants midway through the season, and to make him look good, feel good for what he was doing or not doing for the New York Giants, to make young Joka become the player that he became for this team, not just last night, but for the entire second half of the season. season, I think, is a testament to Patrick Mahomes and his leadership and the way he is able to incorporate guys and make them look good every single play down the field.
And to that point, you talk about Tom Brady and his kind of meteoric rise and how he made receivers around him so much better. It was about, hey, you can bring a guy over to this organization, and with Tom at quarterback, hey, they can be one of the better receivers in the league. And you look at the Chiefs roster, and we're watching Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS coming over from their teams. Insert rookie Sky Moore, whether it's McCall Hardman, who didn't play last night, Kadarius Toney comes over. These are guys that could be outcasts on other organizations that now come to the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, and now they have a ton of success.
It's really, really awesome to watch unfold. It wasn't just Patrick Mahomes.
Jamie and Sean and Jason. Jamie, what do we got?
Well, Kyle, it's a perfect tee-up because we want to just keep going a little bit more into the dangerous lament of the loser. Just to play the other side of that coin, that if you are an Eagles fan, and we appreciate the way that you unpack that, but here's what I thought about that holding penalty. It was that James Bradbury came out after the game and said, I held him. I just wish they hadn't seen it. I wanted to get away with it, but I did it. I think that was very big of him to come out in post-game to say that, to admit wrong, if you will. Less than 2 minutes ago, 3rd and 8, this ball is incomplete. If at that moment, with just under 2 to play, the Chiefs are forced to kick a field goal, then what I would have loved out of what was already turning into the most epic Super Bowl ever to be played, in my opinion, is that to watch Jalen Hurts come down. Peter has said this before in this program. We've seen Jalen Hurts. We have seen Patrick Mahomes do this. We had not seen Jalen Hurts yet at this stage do a come from behind, a drive down the field. However the scenario was going to be teed up as they had one penalty left, or one timeout left, the Eagles did. They would have had about $1.45. What were the Eagles going to do at that moment? Now, the Chiefs won out in the fact that they had excellent play clock management. They got the penalty on their side. They had a fresh set of downs. So if you're an Eagles fan, I just would say, I know you would have wanted to see your guys go into that scenario and win the game or tie the game, if that. But you didn't get that opportunity, and maybe that's where you take it away from, is that we would have loved to see it. But the Chiefs went out and they were able to kind of steal that opportunity back. But don't be mad about the penalty because your own guy is saying that he did it.
Yeah, and what Bradbury is saying is, yes, I tugged on his jersey. And when he's saying, I hope they let it slide, is the fact of the matter is, playing defensive back in the NFL, there's little tugs, there's pulls, there's push-offs on the receivers all throughout the game. And we always would say going into a game is, let's see how they're going to call it. In that game last night, we didn't see defensive pass interference holdings. It was more of a let-them-play type game. So, yes, he does tug him a little bit. And I think with a lot of not only Eagles fans, but a lot of people that was just watching the game last night, that was just enjoying a good football game, you don't want to see the game ended on that penalty. And to James Bradbury's point is a tug no matter when it happens in the game. But you guys know I'm a big believer in the very end of the game. I want to see somebody go out there and win the game and take it away. You hate to see it end on a penalty, but like he said, he did grab him. But beyond the penalty, to me, it was the way Andy Reid and these Kansas City Chiefs adjusted in the second half. And they came out strong from the start of handing the ball off to Pop Pacheco. He kind of set the tone in the second half, being able to go out there, had about 50 of his 76 yards in the second half and scored a touchdown. And I think they went into halftime and just like, you know what, we're running the ball well. We just haven't been able to possess it long enough in the first half. And then we saw these plays that Reid drew up and came with in the second half. A very easy touchdown to Kadarius Toney, then Sky Moore on the other side. And let's not forget, in the first half, the touchdown to Travis Kelce came with a short motion and then a double move off of that. So you can tell Kansas City went into this game strategically on offense saying, hey, we can double move these guys, we can confuse them where their eyes are going and be able to do things secondary to be able to get behind them and make plays. And they did that in the first half a little bit, but definitely made a point of it in the second half.
Yeah, I'm glad you addressed that penalty and that hold and the tug. And listen, that's why you run that double move like that, because that can happen. And if he hadn't restricted him, it could have been a touchdown anyway. So it's a moot point. Listen, for Eagles fans, unbelievable season. Jalen Hurts had an unbelievable game. He showed up. He played phenomenal. I don't know that Jalen could have played any better, with the exception of that fumble with Nick Fulton. But I think you have to give credit to the Chiefs for the way they turned it around at halftime. This was the tale of two halves. The first half was all Eagles. They were full throttle. But I think for the Chiefs, they felt slighted all week long, for the last 2 weeks, really. Because if you're an Eagles fan and you're upset about that play call, you should be upset about your defense. Because the #1 ranked passing defense did not show up in the second half. Where were all the sacks? Where were all the quarterback hits? We talked at length about this offensive line of the Chiefs not being able to hold up against this pass rush, and yet they basically equalized them. There was not one sack in this game, and I feel like the Chiefs felt slight in this game the entire weeks leading up to it. And here's how you know how players feel. After the game, what are they saying? Let's listen to Travis Kelce and what he had to say after he won this Super Bowl alongside his Chiefs.
I know you're emotional.
Man, one of y'all said the Chiefs were going to take it home this year. Not a single one. Feel it? And on top of that, next time the Chiefs say something, put some respect on our name.
Oh, Travis Kelce peeling back the curtain a little bit on what they've been talking about in the locker room and in the meeting rooms behind closed doors. Nobody thought they could win the game. That was their motivation. That was the push. He's standing next to the NFL's MVP, their Jordan, if you will. I know Nick Sirianni thinks Jalen is, but that is exactly what drove and what fueled this team. The motivation all week long. We had to hear about this defense. They're so good. How are we going to stop them? How are we going to win? And for the Chiefs, that was their motivation. I think Kelce standing next to Mahomes, like, this is the baddest man on the planet right here.